In this video, we're going to analyze the three operating segments of Amazon for the second quarter of 2018. So Amazon breaks its business operations into three different parts. Okay, we've got Amazon Web Services, and then we have everything else. And by everything else, I mean sales of its online stores, whether it be Kindles or so forth, and then also subscription services, Amazon Prime, third-party sellers, the commissions that they pay. When you go on Amazon, you sell something, you have to pay a commission to Amazon. And everything else is broken into North America and then the international, okay, outside of North America. So we've got Amazon Web Services, and then we've got Amazon International, Amazon North America. Those are the three business segments that they evaluate. And so then they disclose the information regarding net sales, operating expenses, and the operating profit for each of those segments. I went ahead and then calculated the operating margin as well, which is just the operating profit divided by the net sales. So it tells you every dollar of sales, how much ends up being, or how many cents end up being operating profit. Okay, so we've got the second quarter of 2018, but then they also disclose for the same quarter from the prior year, second quarter of 2017. So we can also go ahead and calculate year-over-year growth and say, okay, how did sales change for Amazon North America from second quarter 2018 since second quarter of 2017? Again, the reason we use year-over-year growth is we want to eliminate any effects of seasonality. Okay, so just high level, we see that Amazon North America in the second quarter of 2018 had over $32 billion in revenue, and it had a profit of almost $2 billion. They had an operating margin of 5.7%. However, Amazon International actually lost money. Okay, so they have $14.6 billion in revenue, but they lost almost $500 million. Okay, and the loss was smaller than the last year same quarter, but still lost almost $500 million. Now, Amazon Web Services, $6.1 billion in revenue, but they had a profit of $1.6 billion. So they have a very high operating margin. So first thing to notice is Amazon, even though you probably think of it as selling products, they actually get their highest margin, their highest profit margin from Amazon Web Services. So think about it. When you sell a Kindle, right? If you're Amazon and you sell a Kindle, it costs you a lot of money to produce that Kindle, but providing services is a higher profit margin activity. Okay, so they make more profit per dollar of revenue that they get from Amazon Web Services. That's what it means when we see this high operating margin, 26.9% versus just 5.7% for Amazon North America. Okay, now when we think about the growth, we can see that there was 44% year-over-year growth for Amazon North America. Now, part of that, it's a little bit misleading because they acquired Whole Foods during 2018. And so there was some revenue in there during the time that they had Whole Foods. Whole Foods have $4.3 billion in revenue. So that's going to make the growth a little bit higher. So it's not all organic growth is what I'm trying to say. Now, for Amazon International, there was 27% growth, but actually the highest year-over-year growth came from Amazon Web Services. Okay, so if we're thinking about analyzing these three segments, let me try and tie it all together and how you might think about it. We can look at not just how much revenue does each segment contribute, but we can also think about how much each segment is growing, because that's going to tell us about the future. Which ones are going to, right here we see Amazon Web Services. It's growing the fastest. And then we can also think about the profit margin for each segment. So how does this all tie together? Why do we care about these different things? Well, we can predict future profitability in Amazon and say, okay, what is this segment that is going to grow the fastest, that is going to deliver the most profit? How is that segment performing, and so forth? Now, just in case you're wondering, what is this consolidated down here at the bottom? This is actually the total for all of Amazon. So if you look at the net sales here, 52.886 billion, that's if you added the net sales of North America, International, and AWS all together. So that would add up to this right here. So this is just the total, okay, for all of Amazon. So I broke out some additional analysis here. I also like to look at the dependence on each segment. How much does Amazon depend? So if we think about Amazon's total sales, 52.886 billion, what percent of that comes from North America, international, AWS, and so forth? So you see that 60.8%. So by far, the majority of Amazon's net sales, when we're looking at this figure here, the majority comes from Amazon North America. Amazon International is more than twice the size in terms of revenue as Amazon Web Services. Okay, that doesn't mean it's more important or contribute more to the profitability, because we actually see that Amazon International again is losing money. They have posted a loss in each of the last two quarter twos for the last 2 years. Now, again, when we think about the growth and we want to rank the growth, so here I had 49%. Here I broke it out to actually 1 decimal point. It's the same thing, though, 48.9% or about 49% growth for Amazon Web Services. I've ranked it so you can just see how they compare. We've got Amazon Web Services is number 1 on growth, right? So even though it's the smallest percentage of sales in the current period, right? And we think about second quarter of 2018, it just makes up the smallest share of Amazon sales, but it's growing the fastest, has the highest operating margin. And we're already seeing some of the effects of this, because if you look at Amazon Web Services, it is responsible for 55% of Amazon's operating profit. Okay, so if we look at the operating profit, $1.6 billion, it almost has the same amount of operating profit as all of Amazon North America, even though Amazon North America has $32 billion in sales and Amazon Web Services is just $6 billion. It says a lot less in terms of the total magnitude of net sales. It almost has the same operating profit because it has such a higher margin. By the way, in case you're wondering, how is it that we have 61% for North America and the share of the operating profit, but 55% for Amazon Web Services? That adds up to more than 100%. The reason is we've actually got a negative share when we think about Amazon International, because they, again, lost money. So what are the takeaways from this? When we look at Amazon's 3 segments, we see that, okay, Amazon North America is responsible for most of Amazon's sales. And Amazon North America is growing. However, some of that is not organic growth. It's because of the acquisition of Whole Foods. But even if you leave out Whole Foods, Amazon North America is still growing. Amazon International is growing as well in terms of its sales growth, and its loss got smaller from what it was the same quarter last year, but it's still losing money. This is the biggest liability that Amazon has right now, is Amazon International, how to get it where it's profitable. And then when we look at Amazon Web Services, that is the fastest growing segment here. So this is the future. When we think about Amazon, the fastest growing segment has the smallest amount of sales compared to the 3 segments, but it's the fastest growing amount of sales, and it has this really high profit margin, and so it almost has the same operating profit as Amazon North America. So if we think about 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now, it's very likely that Amazon Web Services, which is providing cloud computing services and not the kind of things that maybe the average consumer thinks about when they think about Amazon and buying a Kindle or something, that is actually the future for Amazon, at least as far as it looks from our analysis here, is that Amazon is transitioning maybe to more making most of its money from providing services as opposed to selling products.